stuffing out of the opposition. He didn't do that when he was a young guy at Saints, but things may have moved on, and good luck to him.
Yep. Hull KR centre Jimmy Kainos has signed a new one-year deal. The 31-year-old who can also play on the wing or at second row joined the Robins in 2018 from Leeds Rhinos. Tom Andrews said, "Happy with this. We'll have taken a massive pay cut to stay around as he was one of the top earners. We'll offer good experience cover across the back line, plus it keeps the Swiss Rugby League fan club happy." Yeah, another line whilst we're on Hull KR is Will Daggers signed a new 2-year extension with Hull KR. The 22-year-old fullback has featured in their last 2 games, winning Sky's Player of the Match against Cass after previously missing the rest of the season with injury. So he'll be back up. So both of those 2 players you'd think are their backup backs who can cover a number of positions in the back 7.
Yep. St Helens back rower Matthew Foster could miss the start of the 2022 season. He's had a lot of bad luck. He injured his anterior cruciate ligament on loan at Lee. 20-year-old had a tough year. He broke his jaw while on loan at Lee, and now the knee injury in his second stint. He'll undergo surgery and then begin rehab for next term. They'll hear a little bit more in October, but you know what anterior cruciate ligaments are like. It'll be a significant chunk of time before he's back on the field.
Yeah, really unfortunate. I think it was the first or second game at Lee at the start of the season when he broke his jaw, and then first or second game I think back in his second stint as well where he's done his knee. So yeah, he's a guy who needs a bit of a break, I think.
Yeah, maybe that's not the appropriate.
Sorry, yeah, no, a bit of luck. A bit of good luck.
Yeah. He could do with that. I think he's still got some promise, Matthew. So we'd like to see him get some game time at Saints at some stage, but obviously it's going to be a while now before we see him in a shirt.
Yep. Final line from Super League. Huddersfield assistant coach Luke Robinson has signed a new 3-year deal with the club. The 37-year-old former England international has served as academy coach and assistant coach in his time since hanging up his boots in 2015. Robinson will now remain at the Giants until at least the end of 2024.
Moving down a division, York forward Danny Washbrook will retire from rugby league at the end of the season. The 35-year-old has made more than 350 career appearances for Hull, Wakefield and York. Washbrook reached the 2006 Super League Grand Final with Hull, was also part of the side that won back-to-back Challenge Cups in 2016 and 2017. Washbrook made 229 appearances for hometown club Hull, across 2 spells for the club and played more than 100 games for Wakefield. A good servant for the game. I always enjoyed watching him play.
Yeah, he seemed to have the right sort of attitude, didn't he? And his heyday is probably quite a long time ago now, but he had his moments throughout his career in Super League, and obviously has finished off at York. Someone else who's finished off at York is Ryan Atkins, who's announced he will retire at the end of the season. The 35-year-old made his 400th career appearance earlier this year when York faced Bradford. Atkins, who played 273 games across 10 seasons for Warrington, stands as the 6th highest try scorer in Super League history. If you believed every time he fucking claimed one, it'd be much higher up that list. The former England international also enjoyed 2 spells at Wakefield, scoring 42 tries in 82 games for them. He scored 4 tries in 8 games for England between 2006 and 2012 and was named in the Super League Dream Team twice, 2012 and 2016. He scored 8 tries in 18 games for York in the Championship this season, previously winning 2 League Leaders' Shields and 2 Challenge Cups whilst at Warrington. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I
don't know if he put a bet on that this would be his last year or not, but...
I didn't. He was a much better player than what I'll remember him for, which were his fake try claims and that magnificent flying leap over the corner flag. Can't remember which game that was, where it looked much, much easier to score, but for some reason he just dove into touch like Superman. Do you remember that one?
He had. I think he was a player who was kind of always on the edge of winding people up, so he'll never have sort of made himself popular with opposing fans. And so because he's a player who played most of his career at one of our opposition clubs, we'll never quite take to him, will we? But you're right.
No. Yeah.
During his career, there were some real peak years where he was an outstanding player, and we shouldn't let the fact that he's also been a bit of an idiot at times take away from that too much.
Indeed. No, I quite agree with that. And he scored a hell of a lot of tries and played for a long time. So good luck for him in retirement.
Mm-hmm.
Widnes have made their third new signing for 2022 with the capture of London hooker Matty Fossard. Fossard, 26, joins his hometown club after 3 years in the capital. Fossard played for Wales in the 2017 World Cup, has also featured for Batley, Rochdale and Sheffield, having come through the ranks at St Helens where he made a solitary Super League appearance.
Yep, he's a seasoned Championship player now, isn't he?
Yes.
Widnes duo Paul Clough and Matt Cook have announced that they will retire at the end of the season. Clough, 33, has made more than 300 career appearances for Saints, Bradford, Huddersfield and Widnes. Cook, 34, made almost 300 career appearances for Bradford, Hull KR, London, Castleford and Widnes. Cook helped Bradford win the World Club Challenge way back in 2006 and was part of the Castleford side that reached the Super League Grand Final in 2017. Clough must have played a final or two in his time as well, mustn't he? You'd have thought.
Yeah, you'd have thought so. Probably all losing ones against Leeds.
Yes.
But
glorious days.
Yeah, I'd have to look. Another ex-Saints player, Widnes have signed prop Levi Nzogu from Bradford for the 2022 season. The 23-year-old came through the ranks at St Helens and has had a taste of Super League action with Salford and with Hull. When I first saw him as a kid, I thought he was going to be absolutely outstanding. I remember seeing him playing a reserve game in Catalan before the main game, the main Catalan Saints game, and he looked absolutely incredible. But it's never really happened for him at the top level, sadly.
I wonder if he's one of those players where he was quite standout, wasn't he, at the academy ranks?
Yeah.
Maybe he hasn't. Maybe it not came too easy for him. Maybe that's harsh, but maybe it was more straightforward at that stage, and so possibly he hasn't realised what it needed to actually take a step up.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Another Widnes line and another former Saints player, Matty Smith, actually has signed a 1-year extension at Widnes today as well.
All right.
So just before we started recording.
Very good. And Oldham captain Gareth Owen has announced he will retire from rugby league at the end of the season. 29-year-old hooker's captained Oldham for 5 seasons, making 153 appearances for his hometown club. Owen will play his final game for Oldham when the championship campaign comes to an end at Dewsbury on September the 19th.
Whitehaven have announced that Jonty Gawley will take over head coaching role from Gary Charlton from 2022. Charlton will move upstairs to take on the reins as director of rugby at Haven, with current assistant coach Jonty Gawley taking charge next season. Sensible there, continuity, isn't it?
Indeed. Jordan Lilly says he wants to help take Bradford back to Super League after signing a new 2-year deal with the club. The 25-year-old initially joined Bradford on loan in 2018, having come through the ranks at Leeds, and has gone to play 57 games for the Bulls.
So an established championship player now, who was Gary Schofield's tip to be the next great England scrum half. Not everyone quite lives up to their early initial Super League expectations, unfortunately.
Indeed, happens more often than not, sadly.
London Broncos have appointed London Scholars and Jamaica head coach Jermaine Coleman as their head coach for 2022. So obviously they've looked within London Rugby League and found someone who is wedded to that system to move them into their part-time era, it seems like. And I think that's a solid and sensible appointment, and someone who can deliver on their ambitions of maintaining their, London links, because they're talking about having a predominantly homegrown side, aren't they? And this seems sensible to me.
Yeah, I agree.
It's like a step up
And
for Coleman, but at the same time, it's not a. It's a step up for Coleman, but at the same time, London aren't overstretching themselves given the recent announcements about going part time.
Yeah.
It just makes sense all the way around, and hopefully he's successful.
Yeah, I hope so too. I'd like to see them continue to see London do well.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, the Hull KR rebrand. Tom Andrews sent his views. He says, "Do I love it? No. Do I hate it? Also no. Could it have been worse? Yes. It's a modern take on the badge whilst keeping an identity. It opens up a lot of merchandising options and gives the club a modern look. Other clubs likely to follow suit in the next year. Get ready for the return of the Thunder Sharks." I'm not sure that's happening, Tom, anytime soon. I personally thought it looked pretty good.
Yeah, I think they've stayed close to a lot of history angle with it, isn't there? Because Robins has been always the nickname. What they've tried to move away from, it seems like, is the Rovers aspect of it. When we were at Magic Weekend, I said to Tom, like, how does it feel that their team are Hull and your team are Rovers? And he didn't seem that fussed, but it seems like the people at Hull, when they've been listening to whoever's been in their ear, has been telling them, don't lose the city, don't let another team be known as Hull or something, because they've dropped the Kingston Rovers, it seems like, from, even the Facebook page has changed name from Hull Kingston Rovers to Hull KR, and that sort of stuff. Emphasis on Robins has been in the thing with the little bird faces replacing the crowns, but looking a bit enough like the crowns to kind of just be a modern interpretation. I think it looks pretty good. I think it certainly works good on the wider sort of digital space with making using just the little bottom robin and stuff. They've tried to say something about it being fierce or something. It looks more cheeky if they're going to make it wink every time some fucking news story is announced. They need to think about that angle of it. But it looked good on the cap Tony Smith was wearing. That looked sharp, I thought. Some of the gear, the top that Mossy Masoi came out in with the little logo on.
Looked good, didn't it?
It did. It looked sleek. It looked like the sort of kind of what Wigan have tried to do with the Warrior face on some of the merchandise that we've brought out. I don't know if you've seen the like the cap I've got with the black on black sort of design to it and stuff. And I think it is important to think of that sort of angle with this, whilst not losing the ability to at some point throw out some heritage range with the old badge on.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're trying to do things at Hull KR, and I think that's a good thing. I think I'm disappointed not being able to go this season with our game being called off for COVID and so on. So I'm looking forward to getting down to the street and checking out the hospitality down there. And I think the new stand at Hull KR, which obviously is not brand new now, it's a few years old, but I think that was a good addition to the ground there. I think they're trying to do things at Hull KR, and I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, definitely. And I also, you look around, and Salford have done a bit of a rebrand earlier this year, which was necessary because they'd fucked up the last one, really, with that weird primary school badge. And I think that works better now. You've seen Halifax have realised that maybe they needed to take a different approach, and that seems to have gone okay for them. It certainly hasn't knocked anyone's nose out of joint too much. It doesn't seem like, Wigan's last year, okay, people felt a bit different about that one. But I was liking what Tom's saying, sort of, do I love it? No. Do I hate it? No. I think it's kind of, you can like two things. You can like the old badge and the new badge. And you can see the reasons behind it, certainly. You look around Super League now, and most of the teams have caught up to that. Something that looks a bit more streamlined, a bit more sleeker, a bit more themselves as well. Like, that's the thing Hull KR have done here. They've had to take a step to be slightly more different to Hull FC, because otherwise it was just the same badge with a different colour, weren't it, between the two of them?
Yeah.
And I think they've taken a forward-looking approach at getting fresher first. and so I think that makes sense. And